United States continued its intense bombardment of the Houthis in Yemen.
The U.S. military confirmed the new strikes and says they will continue until the Iran-backed Houthis end their attacks on ships traveling through the Red Sea.
The aircraft carriers of the United States Navy are among the most spectacular examples of modern defense technology. These massive floating bases offer heavy armor and powerful air squadrons, as well as full operational capability anywhere in the ocean, in particular nuclear-powered ships such as the USS Harry S. Truman and the USS Vinson can remain at sea for weeks with thousands of personnel and can accommodate large numbers of fighter jets and attack helicopters. These ships, which include high-level technologies from command and control systems to radars, become the management center of a gigantic operation by planning land and air operations simultaneously. These ships, which have recently appeared in areas close to Middle Eastern waters, have been on the agenda during the tensions with the Iranian-backed Houthis, raising the question, what's next? The conflict in the Red Sea region threatens a vital global shipping route. The United States has stepped up its efforts against the Houthi group in the name of maintaining regional stability. The United States Navy's aircraft carriers stand out in the global power arena as one of the most spectacular examples of modern engineering. The importance of aircraft carriers stems from the fact that they represent a key element of strategic deterrence and global projection. The USS Harry S, Truman with its nuclear reactor, is a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier capable of carrying around 90 aircraft. It is characterized by its large flight deck, advanced radar and command systems, and long-term operational capability. Historically, when the United States sends this ship to the Middle East or nearby waters, it is considered a great show of force. Iran and its allies in the region interpret this as increased military pressure. The USS Vinson has similar capabilities, but is unique in its modernized flight deck and infrastructure to support next-generation aircraft. Known for its Pacific mission, the ship is now occasionally seen in conflict zones in and around the Middle East, which immediately draws attention to Washington. The USS Vinson is a nuclear aircraft carrier of similar design. This ship, once known for its role in the Pacific, has recently been spotted in the Middle East and nearby areas of conflict, and the spotlight has again turned to Washington. Vinson is known for its high-capacity radar systems and modernized flight deck. It provides infrastructure support for specialized aircraft such as the FA-18 Super Hornet, EA-18G Growler and MH-60R Seahawk, as well as unmanned aerial platforms. This versatile capability gives the US military the advantage of rapid response and targeted results in conflicts or tensions in the region. Years of attacks by the Yemeni Houthi group targeting global trade and freedom of navigation triggered the deployment of two massive carrier strike groups to the Red Sea. This is where tensions with the Houthi militia in Yemen reached a striking level. While the Houthis claim to have attacked an American aircraft carrier sailing in the northern Red Sea, some of the satellite images clearly show American ship activity in the region. In fact, recent information from open sources suggests that these ships are conducting active operations near the Yemeni coast. In particular, the USS Harry S. Truman is said to be the main actor in the operation, which has been going on non-stop for nearly a month since March 15, with more than 200 airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. On the other hand, one of the most heated situations of recent times has been the attacks announced by the Houthis and the US airstrikes in Yemen. Houthi groups claim to have attacked an American aircraft carrier sailing in the northern Red Sea, while satellite imagery showed some of the ships maneuvering in combat. US President Donald Trump vowed to destroy the Houthi group in Yemen after they fired hundreds of missiles at ships in the Red Sea.
Not only our ships all over the world are shooting down right out of the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard.
The group is also backed by Iran, with which the US is at odds over its nuclear program. New satellite images show the USS Harry S, Truman aircraft carrier, conducting an operation in the Red Sea against the Iran-backed Houthi group in Yemen, which has been subjected to airstrikes for nearly a month. The Houthis have launched hundreds of attacks on merchant ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden since 2023, US President Donald Trump said in the Oval Office. We've done a great deal of damage to the Houthis that nobody else has been able to do. We've hit them really hard, and they know it, and they don't know what to do, and they have a lot of leaders and experts, night after night after night. Missile experts, they actually produce missiles, nobody thought about that. They produce missiles. They are quite sophisticated, and they are very durable, but they are very badly damaged. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said in the Oval Office, "We will not give up until the Houthis announce that they will stop firing on our ships. And we have been very clear that Iran must not continue to provide support to the Houthis.
Until the Houthis declare they will stop shooting at our ships. And we've been very clear with the Iranians as well. They should not continue to provide support to the Houthis, and that message has been made very clear."
In the region, having ships of such capacity on the ground is considered a major force multiplier. The operational capability of aircraft carriers also stands out with its logistical and strategic dimension. Each of them is not only a big ship, but also a floating fortress thanks to the task force called Carrier Strike Group it brings with it. Guided missile cruisers, destroyers, supply ships, and, if necessary, a submarine can accompany this group. The aircraft carrier thus has a multi-layered umbrella of protection against multiple types of threats, from air defense to submarine hunting. Although coastal missiles or drones in the hands of the Houthis cannot easily penetrate this ring of protection, Iranian influence in the region and the possibility of arms supplies increase the seriousness of the scenario. Looking at the technical specifications of the USS Harry S. Truman, the fact that the ship has a nuclear reactor eliminates the shortage of range and allows it to remain on duty non-stop for weeks. The massive 332-metre-long hull and 4.5-hectare flight deck can accommodate modern fighter jets such as the FA-18EF Super Hornet, MH-60RS Seahawk helicopters, and even E-2D Hawkeye early warning aircraft. These aircraft can be used simultaneously to strike strategic Houthi-controlled positions and to monitor the movements of other Iranian-backed militias. Despite its similar dimensions, the USS Carl Vinson has also made a name for itself with its recent modernization efforts. New catapult systems and aviation support equipment on board open the door to fifth-generation aircraft, such as the F-35C Lightning II. There is currently no confirmed deployment of such aircraft in the region, but such a possibility would only increase the anxiety on the Iranian and Houthi fronts. This is because a fifth-generation aircraft could carry out surprise attacks with a low radar signature, rendering existing defences largely helpless. The United States is not only presenting the presence of its aircraft carriers as a mission to secure freedom of navigation or stop local militias. It is also clearly intended to intimidate Iran and strengthen its hand at the bargaining table over the nuclear deal. If diplomacy between Washington and Tehran breaks down completely, these ships have a special deterrent capacity, equipped with a much broader strike capability to stabilize the region. Still, the danger is far from zero. Strategic points along the Yemeni coast, such as narrow straits, the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, could allow for surprise attacks by small fast boats or unmanned naval vessels. Houthi naval attacks, which the Houthis occasionally undertake, sometimes fail to inflict heavy damage, but have a psychological impact. Protecting America's massive aircraft carriers requires extensive intelligence, aerial reconnaissance, and satellite surveillance. Satellite imagery gives both sides an advantage by identifying details such as where the ships are stationed, hangar capacities, and deployment patterns. This is why the headline, US ship fighting the Houthis, has been so resonant in recent statements. This is because the presence of ships does not only mean naval patrols, but also airstrikes on ground targets when necessary. The Houthis claim that these operations are directly targeting them. We are protecting international trade routes and countering the threat of armed militias, the US usually says in its statements. Meanwhile, tensions are high in the region. 2 additional warships are being sent to join the American Carrier Strike Group. The news that another warship is being used to fight the Houthis in the region, joining the US military's new missions on the southern border in the Red Sea, indicates that the number of ships will increase and the pressure will intensify. Iran, in particular, is trying to strengthen its defensive measures in anticipation of these ships crossing into the Persian Gulf or the Sea of Oman at any moment. The Revolutionary Guard's Navy has modernized its coastal missiles and fast attack boats, showing that they take the threat perception seriously. Iran and its allies argue that Washington is sending its ships to the region to exert pressure on the nuclear deal or other diplomatic issues. In fact, this possibility is a classic example of power diplomacy in the Middle East. The actor who wants to strengthen its position at the diplomatic table sends deterrence, such as aircraft carriers, to the region to signal that I do indeed have the capacity to attack. The other side, on the other hand, implies that it will not back down by saying, we will attack if necessary. As a result, tensions rise, and if no agreement is reached, a dangerous process can begin. In the current situation, Yemen seems to be the biggest obstacle to global freedom of navigation. For this and other reasons, the crisis is not limited to the US and the Houthis. It is a high-stakes chess game in the Gulf waters and the Red Sea. Iran is backing the Houthis, while America is siding with Saudi Arabia and its coalition partners. Ships like the USS Harry S, Truman and the USS Vinson and squadrons of aircraft aim for absolute supremacy in both sea and airspace. The Houthis, on the other hand, rely on surface attack boats, coastal missiles and drones, while Iran, from which they receive support, is sending the message that we will send more help if necessary. When other dimensions, such as Russia's presence in Syria and China's global calculations are added, the issue is no longer limited to the Yemeni theatre. On the other hand, deploying ships like the USS Harry S, Truman and the USS Vinson is a costly endeavour for the US in many ways. The costs of nuclear fuel, personnel, food, and the logistics of the destroyers and cruisers behind them all add up to billions of dollars in the defence ecosystem. These huge expenditures are explained by America's desire to make its global power felt at all times. On the other hand, a lost or damaged aircraft carrier can turn into a historical loss of prestige and deterrence. For this reason, the US Navy is meticulously managing deployment in the region. However, no attack of this scale has been recorded to date. Short-range missile or drone attempts can be intercepted by destroyers. In addition to the possibility of an attack, the process of the aircraft carrier's involvement is highly organised. The carrier's air fleet is equipped with guided bombs, cruise missiles, and reconnaissance vehicles capable of delivering pinpoint strikes against Houthi positions. The F/A-18E/F Super Hornets and EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft are alleged to have been used in most of the more than 200 airstrikes carried out on Yemeni territory since March 15th. B-2 Spirit heavy bombers and B-1 Lancer fighter jets from nearby US military bases are also involved in critical operations. In particular, B-2 bombers are being used to destroy deep underground Houthi bunkers with 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. As a result, the current deployment of aircraft carriers such as the USS Harry S, Truman and the USS Vinson, which are at the highest level in terms of technology and strike capacity, is causing regional actors to reorganize their security strategies. While the Houthis say, if the US doesn't stop, we won't stop, the US is steadfast in its assertion that we have to stabilize the region. Billions of dollars of defense industry investments, a huge logistical force, and diplomatic calculations. All of these are a simmering equation in the Middle East. The diplomacy table, on the other hand, is moving slowly. What do you think about this? Will this great power provided by aircraft carriers really bring peace in the region? Don't forget to share your thoughts and subscribe to our channel. While the likelihood of conflict is still low, given the delicate balance in the region, it is possible to expect a new surprise at any moment.